team talk. So, obviously Splice are going to be the opponents in the grand final. They've only played 5 games, won all 5. But the big thing for us, and the big thing which gives us hope, is about that all 5 of those games have been close. They've not been complete stomps, they've not been 20-minute routes. Each one of them have been long, drawn-out games where they've struggled to really take advantage of the mistakes of the opponents. Predominantly, in the mid lane is where I think we can look to take advantage of them the most. They play very immobile gods, look to pick Arposh and Zeus very high in the draft very early on from Moswell, and then look to play around him and to play around Sinosha in the early game, as well as getting pressure over in the duo side. In terms of their ADC, Xbalanque seems to be the high priority pick for him. Love playing Xbalanque, love playing around the Darkest of Nights in team fights, just to rearrange everybody and make sure they're catching us off guard. In terms of the draft, I feel like we take similar style of drafts that Dig did in games 2 and 3, where we ban out or pick the Naja. We definitely don't let them get Arpwash. We make sure we're picking one of those 2 for ourselves. They'll most likely pick Zeus for the mid lane, and that's what we punish in the early game. So, in terms of their start, as you've all noticed, they've done 3-man in the dual lane from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Just to try and get pressure. What I say we do is we just leave Bo alone in the dual lane. The 3-man, they get pressure and everything, so just zoom out. And we do shit and harass them over on the speed buff. Like we did against Energy.
So we should, instead, we're counter invading.
We should wall speed.
So we should.
What we can do as well is I can go sprint instead of horrific, and they can 2-man invade on the other side as we bait them there. Or I can go horrific, they go horrific as well, and Death has a warrior that does well on level 1, and we just bait them to come after us, and as long as he avoids horrific, we get a kill.
I think we should just stick to speed invades.
Because we can. We have.
Because what we want to show them is
the
that
main reason why they won 3v3s was because they had Artyom. Which was really well.
They had R2 or Fenrir. They mentioned they picked a god in support that fights well on level 1.
Yeah.
So maybe if we want to avoid that sort of start from them, we ban out Artie or ban out Fenrir.
I don't think we have. I think a push should be banned.
Like 100% don't let Moswell get Arposh.
Yeah. He's been playing Arposh like almost every single game.
When he has the opportunity to pick Arposh, they first picked it over anything else. He is not comfortable on anything outside of Arposh and Zeus.
Honestly, remove Artier and Upwash. I don't give a fuck about Fenrir. I mean, sure, Rory's a good Fenrir player, but like.
As we saw earlier today, the second Fenrir gets the mid game, if we're playing it correctly, you shouldn't do a goddamn thing. Dignitas had choice all 3 games, always chose first pick. So that's just what led them to be able to pick Zeus top 2.
Get Zeus no matter what. Yeah.
Basically, they banned away. That's game 2. So Dignitas banned away Odin Naja, let them have Arpwash game 1. Decided that was fucking dumb. So they decided to ban Naja Arpwash, let them have Zeus. Then they banned Arpwash Fenrir, took the Naja for themselves, and then let them have Zeus again. So I think Dignitas' early game draft is what cost them, and the fact that they gave him a comfort pick no matter what. Moswell is the one that's uncomfortable, and Moswell is the one we should be looking to abuse. The dual lane, they'll look to get ahead from the early game with the 3-man bullshit. I don't care about the 3-man bullshit. If Boat's by himself, he's getting more experience and more farm than they are.
Mostly.
We could try and give them Naja 1 game.
I
don't think game 1 though. Do you guys want to give them?
Maybe just give one final 2. You gotta assume that if you give them Naja, they're gonna pick it. Just try to find a way to abuse it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
If you
Something
know
like
they're gonna pick something,
Exactly.
use it.
If we have Raven Regent, like what does the Naja do? Like you're basically immune for your whole life. We steal the expo from them.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Thinking about it now, that's a good point.
Okay, so Erlang Shen is 100% banned from them across the tournament. In the games against Obey, they banned away Zeus. And in the games against Dig, they banned away Freya. So it seems like Erlang Shen is 100% banned from them, and then they have a targeted ban as well alongside it. Question is, what's that targeted ban going to be against us?
Could be anything.
They may try to go warriors.
It might be Pucha for
I mean, we can try.
Okay, they have choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
like,
I said.
I think like in game 1, like what we can do is like can fill them up, but like the way we can draft it is like draft pressure. Like have something set in mind, try to like fill them up with that, and then like the next game
The
change
issue
the
is
strat.
what Splice do is they look to fight as often as possible. They just look to brawl and brawl and brawl and brawl and brawl, because that fucks up enemy comms, that fucks up enemy plans, because no one expects to fight as much.
Well,
Yeah.
very aggressive from the
But I think-
free blinks from the team.
I think that's good though, because like we like to brawl to a certain extent.
The thing is, they played against teams who never had that identity. Back in end of season 3 and beginning of season 4, that was our identity. We just fought as often as possible. If we can slow the pace of the game down and frustrate them, I think that's where they're going to start making the most mistakes so we can punish them.
Because I think the best way to do it is like they picking the mobile mid laners, right?
Yeah.
That means that everything is going to be based around mid lane, and if like that's what they think at least, right? So you can just force something in side lane, so Icy can be going with Deathwalker to invade buffs there, and then let's say I can have like Kalas in mid lane and we can engage the Zeus in the meantime, so we can have like 2 different fights going on, one on the blue buff, one on the Zeus, for example, on rotation. You need to like, regardless of the situation, if they pick guys that are immobile, you need to force stuff on the side lanes and never in the mid lane, so you can cut him out of position, you need to force him to rotate, do stuff like that.
I think just steal away the Expo, because that's all they're doing.
Yeah, I definitely think X-Ball.
Yeah, X-Ball has been a common pick for them.
Like you forget like, okay, keep
Like sometimes they've picked a top 3, sometimes they've picked a bottom 2. I'm gonna have a look back at the picks and bans and see if there's any reason for it at some point. And if I find something, I'll let you guys know.
I just think we can frustrate them the way we play, because like what we did, especially against Reflecta, we started forcing stuff on the side lanes rather than mid lane. We weren't really fighting in mid lane that much. We had like a couple of them, but like most of the time we either had Deathwalker rotating over into us ahead already, which means that like we were doing stuff around soul lane or dual lane not so much either way. But if you force them in like bad positions, because Divios rotates a lot with the guys that he picks, right? Athena, Keb, he's looking to rotate, and he's looking to put himself behind to put other of his teammates ahead.
He picks gods that just are AFK in lane and then rotate and do very well in late game teamfights.
But I've been thinking about it as well. Like Osiris does really well against all those characters.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to clear, he has to like get past a certain point in the lane with all 3 of those characters. And Osiris kind of punishes that.
Honestly, if we can keep him locked in solo lane without having to without having anybody rotating over to do so, that makes their invader makes that team fight in mid and on red buff extremely weak.
One thing, how much does Sino focus the duel lane? Because he doesn't focus mid, I know that. But how much does he prioritize the duel lane ganks?
Because of the 3-man start that they do, they get timers on purple and red immediately. And he goes and tries to rotate on them every single time.
Not most of the time they invaded like purple and they left red. They tried to invade the next. They leave the red one and then they try to invade the next one.
It's if there's defense on the red.
Yeah.
It's like the games they will just take members or.
If they get a kill in lane, they'll go for red. If they don't get a kill in lane, they'll go for purple.
Yeah.
In terms of
Unless
build,
you just
Cyclone Spin will always go for red. No matter what. Okay. Sometimes he builds rage
I
first,
could build
sometimes
Thorns Nimi.
It goes rage on Jabalonke.
Towards the like I mean you have to go on towards the enemy.
Just anyone Thorns
Anything,
Nimi.
okay, anything, sure.
pick somebody who could just run at the EDCs and then.
I think
Fucking Osiris Thorns Nimi.
What did he do?
One thing about mid laners, I've legit played 90% of my games only raging. I think there's gonna be a point where they might be banned.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to get up Washer Zeus.
'Cause,
For first pick, if for second pick, we can look for like.
I mean, I don't mind because like I can play pretty much anything. I can just Discordia up or anything like that. But they seem to do well against Discordia. That's one thing.
So the common thing which they've done in the early game in every single game is they picked on the support. If you saw game 2 against Obey, RF was like 0 and 8 at some point. Trix tank was 0-6, 0-7 on Fenrir. They just kept on picking on the support. So we need to make sure that Callus is never alone, because they'll just try and pick on him because they know he doesn't have beats, they know he doesn't have any safety relics.
Fast could be pretty valuable
that's
against.
brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant because if they want to do that, then we can pick the Janus, and then like we can have the Raven. So let's say we have Raven Janus, and then start forcing stuff on the side lanes.
Just out-rotate them.
Out-rotate them to fucking oblivion, and then kill them on rotation.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Because you have the Janus, you have the mobility. Kala should be fine no matter what.
To be honest, if we're not starting a dueling, we can play Athena as well, because
Yeah.
like her problem is laning.
I think Ares is a valuable pick in this.
Meanwhile, we can. I think
After it's super
Ares,
valuable.
Ares or Faf could be
Because
nice.
like with Fafnir, a Willix will fuck me up. Like I won't be.
Yeah,
able
but
to
they
do
never
anything.
top 3 the Willix, right?
No.
I
Even
just-
if they pick the
They
Yeah, I mean,
final
like-
they final picked Wheelix game 2 against Dig because they get fucking Sir Ket Fenrir Discordia.
I think
Yeah, like
So if we're thinking of picking Fafnir, or we have a Fafnir team, we could just ban Willis. If they haven't picked their jungler by then, because if Narsha's on the table, most likely they'll pick Narsha for this.
The reason why Raffer was dying so much is because they last picked Ymir into fucking all the fucking AoEs and slows and bullshit.
They had no mobility. Meanwhile, like they were looking to fight all the time. Like see, like that's the reason I'm saying Janus.
Like no Pwash. Like I'm not gonna die on Ares.
So, we have an idea of what we're gonna do for picks and bans. We have an idea of what we want to do in the game. Everyone on board with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And before we go on stage, by the way, during the Xbox set, that's going to happen. We'll again just reconvene what we said today, as per usual.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, you free to go. Next on the agenda, where are we going for dinner? What are you still doing here? Video's already over. Well, since you're here, we have a couple of other videos you can potentially watch. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more great content, and we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully.